Ladies and gentlemen, this is Intervlog. I say this is Intervlog, and I am here once more. I'm here because there is one important information that I brought to you today, and this information is a nice one. And the information is coming from the United Nations General Assembly. For some of you who do not know, the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly was just concluded not up to 2 weeks ago, and Sahel Alliance presented their cases to the United Nations, most especially the case between Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso against Ukraine. And if you don't know about this case, you are going to listen to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso presenting the case in the 79th United Nations General Assembly. The Karamoko Jean Marie Traoré, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso, represented Ibrahim Traoré and Sahel Alliance as well. The video you are going to watch is a speech of Karamoko Jean Marie Traoré. Let's go and listen to everything he talked in United Nations, because that speech is one of the best speeches ever. And that is the reason I think it is good for you to hear it in English as well.
In addition to His Excellency, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Faso, Head of State, the fraternal and friendly greetings of the valiant people of Burkina Faso who, despite all adversities, including the ignominy of aggressors and enemies of peace, manipulations and interference of all kinds, have been able to develop resilience to continue their radiant march towards economic, social and inclusive development. I am also pleased to convey to you, on behalf of the government and the people of Burkina Faso, my warm congratulations on your brilliant election to attend this 79th ordinary session. To your predecessor, Mr. Denis Francis, I extend the congratulations of my delegation for the achievements made during his mandate in an international context particularly marked by deep divergences. Mr. Secretary General, Burkina Faso appreciates the actions that the United Nations system and its partners, under your coordination, continue to carry out on the ground in support of the government's efforts. It is in this regard that my country welcomes the choice of the highly evocative and challenging theme of the 79th General Assembly, leaving no one behind, acting together to advance peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations. In evoking this theme, allow me to convey to you from the outset the aspirations of the Sahelian social classes in general and Burkina Faso in particular. I am a farmer who watches over and perpetuates traditions and customs. I ardently cultivate my land that was bequeathed to me by my ancestors to feed my family and ensure my well-being. I want to be able to live free with dignity and pride. I am a woman, a mother, a worthy descendant of the princesses Yanega, Gimbiwatra, like other brave Sahelian women with a strength of character like no other. I will give my life to ensure the survival and development of my children, my brothers and sisters, my compatriots, in a society of peace and love. I want to be able to live free with dignity and pride. I am a young Burkinabe farmer, breeder, trader, civil servant, artist, craftsman and student. Young people from all regions and all backgrounds. Here, from a brave and combative youth, committed to contributing to the development of Burkina Faso, I want to be able to live free, with dignity and pride. I am a child. Girls or boys, from cities and villages, from internally displaced sites, I want to be able to live free, with dignity and pride. I am a child, girl or boy, from cities and villages, from internally displaced sites. I want to be able to live free, with dignity and pride. I am a Burkinabe, Nigerian, Malian soldier, a volunteer for the defense of the homeland, husband, wife, father, mother, son, daughter, brothers and sisters. I have sworn to defend my homeland at the cost of my life, to selflessly fight the enemy on the battlefield, and to protect my fellow citizens from all danger. I want to be able to live free, with dignity and pride. I am a bookworm living abroad, a courageous, hard-working and honest person from the country of upright men. From my stay, far from the motherland, I participate enthusiastically in the common struggle for peace and stability in my country and my sub-region. I want to be able to live free, with dignity and pride. Mr. President, these aspirations are the beacons that organize the action of the government, whose fight is to create a framework for the men and women of the Sahel to live free, with dignity and pride. The theme of our session, much appreciated for its relevance, actually exhumes a fundamental concern as old as the United Nations, and which is addressed by almost all the debates that have taken place here. This means that it is no longer really a question of thinking about what to do or what to do. It is about giving substance and life to our words through concrete actions. We must go beyond words to finally act in favor of a fairer world. Get rid of prejudices and stereotypes that tend to relegate certain peoples or certain parts of the planet to the background, condemned to wait in the dungeons of isolation, and contempt for potential help at the mercy and whim. We must refocus our efforts further on the fundamental objectives of our organization, primarily aimed at promoting the well-being of populations and peoples by ensuring their peace and security. This urgency and absolute necessity to co-construct and act in favor of a fairer world are all relevant in the current context where our world is dominated by persistent crises, complex conflicts, and unequal economic governance that accentuates the fracture between states, the divide between peoples, with human problems as a corollary. This disastrous configuration is the result of a multilateralism at a crossroads, a multilateralism that has run out of steam and whose reputation has been tarnished many times by partisan actions and by certain member states that have set themselves up as masters of the world and have made the submission and exploitation of other states the guiding principle of their foreign policies. We must be rightly concerned about this, because the harmony and cohesion of our world depend on it. This is why Burkina Faso is taking this opportunity to appeal once again to reason and the wisdom of all, particularly the powers of our planet, so that global governance, inclusive and free of hegemonic visions, is given priority. This is the price we pay to restore the UN to all its nobility. Mr. President, restore the integrity of the territory by ensuring the security of populations and their property, overhaul political, administrative, economic and financial governance so that it carries and embodies the aspirations for better living of Burkina Faso. Conduct reforms and development actions that will lead to shared prosperity and sustainable economic and social progress. These are all projects initiated under the leadership and foresight of His Excellency Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Faso, Head of State, the Burkinabe people, who decided to assert and assume their sovereignty by ending their enslavement, and who demonstrated extraordinary resilience, like all the populations of the Sahel, understood the stakes and the scope of this struggle and mobilized alongside our defense and security forces. With this unwavering support, thanks to the patriotism, ingenuity, bravery, and spirit of sacrifice of its sons and daughters, Burkina Faso is recording previously unhoped for successes as well as very appreciable results in the fierce fight against militants who are instrumentalized, remote-controlled, and financed by neo-colonialist powers. This is the place to pay a heartfelt tribute to all those people, civilians, military personnel, who fell on the battlefield and whose memory I salute with deference. Mr. President, at the cost of strategic and visionary reforms marked, among other things, by the increase in the operational capacities of the troops, the reorganization of our fighting forces on the ground, we have multiplied our means of action with the salutary effect of a total resumption of the reconquest of the areas infested by these bad men and their allies. Concretely, nearly 70% of the territory is now under the control of the state compared to 40% in 2022. This has allowed the resettlement of displaced populations and the reopening of schools. Thus, in less than 2 years, the reconquest actions have allowed more than 700,000 people to return to their villages and nearly 1,500 schools to reopen their classrooms, offering the chance and happiness so hoped for by thousands of students to take up the school andirons and continue their school curriculum. These results, which command admiration and arouse much hope, were possible thanks to the action of the defense and security forces, the patriotic commitment of volunteers for the defense of the homeland, and the firm support of the populations as well as the Burkina Faso diaspora in a tremendous surge of solidarity. Solidarity, this patriotic mobilization of all components of our people has allowed the collection of more than $165 million for the year 2023 alone, a figure that has far exceeded initial forecasts. That is to say, all the determination of the Burkinabe people to finance and engage alongside the defense and security forces in the noble fight against terrorists and their allies. Mr. President, at the very moment when we are reaping successes in our victorious offensive against competing forces, agencies with dubious reputations and integrity have curiously engaged in a vast and virulent campaign of denigration and stigmatization against our fighting forces, whom they accuse of violating human rights without having the slightest proof to produce. This orchestrated propaganda actually aims to demoralize Burkinabe patriots and sabotage their legitimate fight because, quite simply, these advocates of chaos have not yet understood the dynamics underway in the Sahel. That is to say, our desire to free ourselves from all guardianship and paternalism. My country would like to take the opportunity of this platform to respectfully express its infinite gratitude to all these friendly countries and sincere partners who support its cause and accompany it in consolidating its radiant march towards inclusive economic and social development. I would therefore like to invite the UN member states to give no credence to all this media agitation, which quite clearly reflects the distress of the terrorists in disarray and their sponsors. I would also like to reassure them of the professionalism and reputation of our defense and security forces, demonstrated through their participation in peacekeeping operations and repeatedly recognized here. The systematic training and ongoing assessments of the defense and security forces and the VDPs in international humanitarian law guarantee this professional rigor in terms of respect for rights on a daily basis. Mr. President, my country is concerned about the support given by state entities to militancy. These sponsorships, which we have constantly denounced and which others considered to be a mere figment of the imagination, were recently brought to the world's attention by a paradoxical attitude of Ukraine, a member state of our organization. Indeed, by unequivocally affirming its involvement in the militants' attacks that took lives of elements of the Malian defense and security forces in Tizawatin, Mali last July, and by admitting its support, particularly in the Sahel, this country has given an overview of the subversive activities that it is carrying out in the Sahel at the moment to other states active behind the scenes of treason. We reiterate our firm condemnation of these acts of aggression and apology for a strategy that violates the Charter of the United Nations and the international conventions relating thereto. These particularly serious facts are indicative of the inclinations that have constantly marked the history of our continent, namely balkanization, taking lives of leaders, interference in the internal politics of states and predation as the ultimate goal. The means to achieve this range from the manipulation of national elites and regional and sub-regional organizations to the perpetration of proxy wars, as is the case in the Sahel, where Ukraine and other countries finance and arm militants with impunity. This reading, which moreover finds its relevance in the worrying proliferation of military bases in our sub-region, also explains the possession by criminal gangs of sophisticated and latest generation weapons. Faced with this new type of militancy, the stability and foundations of our states and our organization are compromised. It is therefore urgent to take vigorous action. For their part, and with regard to the case of the Ukrainian aggression, the countries of the Confederation of Sahel States have already referred it to the Security Council on 20 August, and we are waiting for firm responses in this regard. Mr. President, in the face of the security imperatives of the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger decided in all sovereignty on September 16, 2023, through the Charter of Liptako-Gourmet, to create the Alliance of Sahel States. This is a military alliance. It is one of military alliances, collective defenses and mutual assistance to fight against terrorism and organized crime on their territory. To also provide ideal responses to the complex challenges of development, the AES countries have decided to extend the scope of their cooperation to other priority areas of their space. And it is in this spirit that the first summit of AES heads of state was held on July 6, 2024 in Niamey, Niger. At the end of this historic summit, Their Excellencies, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Faso, Head of State, Colonel Assimi Goïta, President of the Transition, Head of State of Mali, and Brigadier General Abd Alman Tiani, President of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Fatherland, Head of State of Niger, adopted the treaty establishing the Confederation of Sahel States. The popular support and enthusiasm generated by the advent of the AES Confederation can partly be explained by the failure and inability of sub-regional institutions and mechanisms to respond to the security and legitimate concerns of our populations. This salutary action aims primarily to protect the populations of the Sahel, already tested by the security and humanitarian crisis, and against whom deliberate murderous measures have been taken to further exacerbate their suffering. Mr. President, while this current session calls on us to leave no one behind, international news is still, unfortunately, marked by increasingly acute tensions that seriously threaten peace and security under the helpless gaze of the United Nations. Burkina Faso has always favored the path of diplomacy to peacefully resolve these disputes. We remain convinced that by upholding the spirit of the United Nations Charter, we will succeed in extinguishing the hotbeds of tension, whatever their scale and wherever they occur, in Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, or America. In this spirit, in the spirit of the Charter of the United Nations, Burkina Faso reiterates its support for the political process underway in Western Sahara, conducted under the auspices of the Secretary General of the United Nations, with the aim of reaching a mutually acceptable and negotiated political solution as recommended by the relevant resolutions of the United Nations Council. In the Middle East, Burkina Faso reaffirms its solidarity with the Palestinian populations who are experiencing an unprecedented tragedy. The two-state solution, Israel and Palestine, living in peace and good neighborliness, remains the objective alternative that Burkina Faso continues to support. Our acceptance of Palestine as a member of the United Nations is part of this logic. Mr. President, a source of untold suffering for the most vulnerable populations, unilateral coercive measures imposed on states must be prohibited if we want to give real and objective content to the subject of this session. This is why we call for the immediate lifting of economic, commercial, and financial sanctions imposed on certain states whose only wrong is the search for freedom for their people. This is the case of Cuba. It is also the case of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicaragua, Iran, and many other countries. On the subject of development issues, Burkina Faso would like to point out that, whatever their relevance, the commitment